Good morning, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Welcome. We are really pleased today to be able to speak to you about the hot topic of AI, which is very broad, but narrowly about AI in commercialization, point of care, in medical, and ultimately really to improve patient outcomes, to improve care and patient outcomes. I am honored to be with an esteemed group of colleagues here. And what I'd like to do is jump right in to introductions. My name is Nina Benetti. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Viz AI, and I'll tell you a little bit later about Viz AI. And my background is about 15 years prior to coming into AI in pharma, launching and marketing some incredible therapies in the rare disease space, and then in medical devices before that. And I will turn it over to Summer. Who is frozen. So Yusuf.
Yes, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. Very pleased to be with the peers here and with Nina. I'm Yusuf Aidelkaid. I am the head of AI and data science here at Genentech. Oversee a group of AI researchers, data scientists supporting our commercial, medical affairs, and government affairs functions. Myself, I'm applied mathematics engineer by training. Very looking forward to this conversation to learn and also get inspired by the colleagues here and the peers, but also from your questions later on.
Great, thank you, Yusuf. Summer, you are back.
I am. Apologies, everyone. Great. Hi. My name is Summer Basuro, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer at IPG Health. We are a collective of over 45 agencies, 6,500 plus people across 6 different countries, and we're really driven by a healthy obsession with creating novel marketing solutions for our clients. We view health as a driving human need, and we are obsessed with harnessing creativity, technology, and data to inspire behaviors that fuel better health. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Summer. Anurag.
Hello all, very nice to meet you all, and thanks for including me in this panel. My name is Anurag Gupta. I'm a physician by training and have practiced internal medicine and oncology in past. Currently, I'm working as a Senior Director of Data Science and AI Products for both commercial and medical affairs organization. I have about 12 plus years of experience leading commercial analytics, real world data analytics and evidences, and DSN AI practice. Very, very nice meeting you all, and I really look forward to sharing my thoughts. Just a disclaimer I want to add, I work for AstraZeneca, but whatever I will be sharing as my thoughts or contributing to this discussion is purely, it's just my thoughts. I'm not representing AstraZeneca in this conversation.
Awesome, thank you. So why are we here today? We've invited our pharma colleagues to come and listen, and we're hoping that we can illuminate how AI can drive brand and business success and ultimately improve delivery of care to diverse patient populations. Secondly, you'll hear how AI technologies are being used to help optimize physician and healthcare organizations' workflows, their guidelines, best practices, even confidence and their patient journeys. And then we'll just discuss various views and advantages on AI in commercial use today at point of care within pharma. So what I'd like to do is thank Reuters as well for hosting us and giving us the opportunity to talk about this topic. I also, I guess, need to say that if you have any questions, use the Q&A function to submit your questions, and feel free to use the chat function to share where you're tuning in from. That would be great. All right, for Reuters, I do know I have a few slides about Viz, and I want to take a few moments to tell you about Viz AI. We're a healthcare AI company and we serve physicians and patients at point of care. Our technology is used today by and is sticky with tens of thousands of physicians in over 1,600 hospitals to not only help detect disease, but also provide a hyper-fast, HIPAA-compliant system of action for them. So they can take immediate steps to ensure delivery of care for patients. So no patient is missed, dropped out, lost, left behind, or just inadvertently not in the system. And we know that that happens. VIS's mission really is to increase access to life-saving treatments. Now, how do we do this? We've been doing this by ingesting multimodal data. That could be things like patient images such as CT scans, EKGs, echoes, EHR data, demographics, et cetera, you name it, up to the cloud. We run our FDA-cleared algorithms on that data, thus pointing physicians and healthcare organizations and care teams to the relevant patients with alerts, data, images on their mobile or desktop devices. So we've been transforming care and patient outcomes in neurology. That's where we started, in ischemic stroke, for over 6 years, and now working in cardiology, oncology, and many other disease areas. Actually, one patient is detected every 10 seconds on the VIS AI1 system. We have over 100 clinical publications that support our patient outcomes from major institutions like Mount Sinai in New York, as well as community hospitals where the patients are, like Stevens Community Hospital in Northeast Georgia. And why are we talking to you today? Because we partner with pharma companies so that physicians can detect, diagnose, and treat more patients in many disease areas, ultimately reducing time to diagnosis and increasing access to new patients and therapies. And with that, I'm going to jump right into the discussion. And this was the #1 question we got from when you signed up. So thank you for these questions. How can AI improve or transform our current delivery of care to reach a diverse patient population? And I'm going to punt that one over to start us off to Summer.
Hey, great question. And I'd like to answer this question by thinking of some specific patient groups facing hurdles to care. So when we think about diversity, we have to remember there are many patients that fall into this catchment. So first, let's consider patients who might be seeking care in a rural environment. They may have to contend with distance barriers, under-resourced systems, scarcity of specialists that are all going to make point of care support challenging. So some of the ways that AI can help this particular patient population, telemedicine and remote monitoring. So AI-powered telemedicine platforms can bridge that gap between rural patients and healthcare providers by enabling those remote consultations and monitoring, right? Algorithms can obviously analyze data from remote monitoring devices, such as wearable technology, to track patients' health status, detect any early warning signs, and intervene when necessary. And so that can reduce the need for as many frequent in-person visits. You also have decision support systems. So AI-based decision support systems can assist rural healthcare providers in diagnosing and treating patients by providing real-time access to medical knowledge, clinical guidelines, and all the best practices. Predictive analytics. The algorithms can analyze large volumes of data again to identify patterns, trends, risk factors. And by leveraging predictive analytics, rural healthcare providers can anticipate patients' need more proactively, intervene, and prevent some adverse outcomes and allocate scarce resources more effectively. And of course, there's also virtual health assistants. AI-powered virtual health assistants can engage with rural patients through chatbots or voice interfaces to provide information, answer questions, schedule appointments, and offer guidance on managing their health. Of course, this is all based on making sure that our rural population has the broadband access in order to facilitate a lot of these, but that's one patient population that I want to talk about. The next I wanted to consider is The younger adults, those specifically under 50 with cancer. So there's been this yet to be explained thoroughly rise in cancer in younger adults. And cancer symptoms might be different in these particular patients, and taking action might be delayed by both the patient and the initial healthcare providers because neither may have a high index of suspicion of cancer in a younger person, right? And that could effectively delay diagnosis and can affect point of care. So how could AI help this particular, population that might be younger as the face of cancer is changing? Early detection and diagnosis. So AI-powered imaging technologies such as machine learning algorithms for medical image analysis, Nina referenced that earlier, can improve early detection and diagnosis in younger adults. Clinical decision support. So AI-based clinical decision support systems can provide oncologists with real-time guidance and recommendations based on the latest evidence-based guidelines. These guidelines are currently rapidly changing to keep up with this new unfortunate trend of adults under 50 getting cancer at higher rates. So these systems can assist clinicians in making more informed decisions about the treatment options, about the supportive care interventions that will be required. Those might look different than our older adult population who have cancer, following it up, monitoring, ensuring that we're improving the quality of care delivered to these younger cancer patients. There's treatment planning and optimization. We can analyze these patients' data, their medical records, again, their imaging results, and try to determine what treatment outcomes are going to look like in them. We have largely been focused in older adults and many tumor types, and now we have to pivot. And then, of course, research and innovation, a little bit outside of point of care, but we are still trying to figure out why this is happening. So by analyzing this large-scale genomic, clinical, and population data, hopefully we can begin to uncover some novel insights into what is happening with the cancer biology in these patients. And then the third group, let's consider those racial and ethnic minorities. They may be contending with under-resourced facilities that our rural patients are also dealing with. And so many of the things I mentioned there can work here. There's implicit biases, many times unintentionally from healthcare providers, that could prevent them from receiving appropriate care. And then the trust can be tenuous, but it's not irreparable. So how can we leverage AI in this space? Image analysis and diagnostics. So those algorithms can analyze medical images such as X-rays, MRI, CT scans, right, to assist radiologists and healthcare providers in interpreting results more accurately and efficiently, right? The caveat, of course, here is that the AI algorithms have to be developed based on diverse data sets that include these patients from the get-go. There's community health management. So AI-driven population health managing platforms can analyze community-level data to identify health disparities, social determinants of health, unmet healthcare needs within these racial and ethnic minorities communities, and then partnering with community organizations and stakeholders. So using that information to build healthier partnerships can give us those insights that we need. And of course, I'm a scientist by training, research and data equity. AI is playing a crucial role it can play a crucial role in promoting data equity. So we have to ensure that all of these data sets are really representative of racial and ethnic minorities, right? We want to make sure that we are being inclusive in that end. So, and of course, we need to ensure that all of our clinical trials are representative of, all of the people that have these different diseases so that our AI algorithms can learn from inclusive data sets to support healthcare providers and to support physicians. I can't emphasize that enough, Nina.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are you finding then, if you don't have the clinical evidence, physicians could be potentially hesitant or really don't have the data they need to prescribe, particularly for those different patient segments?
Yes, they certainly can be. Physicians are, striving to do what's best for their patients. So at IPG Health, we launched a trial for clinical equality in 2020, and that was during a time of much needed reckoning about racial justice and healthcare in general, right? We were in the midst of a global pandemic. And our intent initially was to raise awareness about the representation of Black and Hispanic Americans, specifically in cancer clinical trials, and the implications for health outcomes. But we quickly realized that the lack of diversity in clinical trials runs much further and deeper beyond just cancer and beyond just a select few minority groups, right? So, for example, an evaluation of 9,000 clinical trials from 2000 to 2020 showed that 0% of those clinical trial participants are Native American. Yet they will experience diabetes at incredibly high rates. Similarly, another study led to FDA approval heart disease medication between 2006 and 2020 and showed that only 3% of heart disease clinical trial patients are Black, yet they also die of heart disease at the highest rates. So this is the reality that's affecting how physicians who have a diverse set of patient populations might consider their studies, right? And there's a study conducted by one of our partners, Dr. Marcella Alsen at Harvard, published last year in the Quarterly Journal of Economics. And it showed that physicians, for example, who treat Black patients are less likely to prescribe medicines that were approved with inadequate representation. Why? Physicians want to have confidence that their medicines that they're prescribing will actually benefit their patients. And in fact, their patients, even if the physician can overcome this, their patients are going to be less likely to take those medicines, right? And so that has a direct impact on the physician's ability to provide the best care for their patients and improve outcomes.
Yeah, I see, Anurag, your head is nodding. Any comments? Particularly you're a physician, right? You've treated patients in both oncology and primary care in the past.
Absolutely, Nina. I mean, the way Summer has put it, I mean, those thoughts totally resonate with me. I mean, if you look at the basics of any disease or, body makeup, I mean, if we know that the prevalence and incidences of different biomarker or those factors which are causing the disease itself is varying by all these groups of, race, ethnicity, social determinants. Definitely the outcomes will also vary because most of the drugs are targeted at those biomarkers or they are taken in an environment, right? It's not just you are treating one particular molecule or pathway. So going back to how DS and AI can help, definitely it learns by whatever is existing. AI is not going to discover anything. It is going to build on whatever is existing, right? So we have to have enough data to start with. And that is where I think most of the pharma companies are encouraging their clinical trials to include this diversities, right? Representation of right patient groups, because they see this kind of data being asked by clinicians before they prescribe. Can you give me more details on, how this drug is effective in different age groups or ethnicity? And also, I think from healthcare perspective, as they are collecting more and more data, I think it also determines how a treatment modality will be effective, taking everything, the entire data into perspective. Like what are the features that determine? It's not only the biomarker makeup of it, it's more of what else in the patient's environment also determines the outcome. So all these things needs to be taken care when you build all these AI algorithms to assess what are the patient archetypes and the outcomes, what are the features that are leading to this, so that you can design your AI for predictive and early interventions.
Thank you. Yusuf, anything to add here?
Yeah, plus one. I think one of the key opportunities for AI in this space of what I call healthcare injustice or disparities is definitely the bias and equity. We see a lot of focus on addressing bias in the data sets we are using. There are a lot of companies out there who gather data by either running studies with universities or gathering data online to zip 5 or even zip 9 level. I think using AI systems to ensure health equity is definitely something that we see more and more. So health equity becomes, more than just a societal, topic, but it becomes, pretty strategic for healthcare companies. And definitely what I see really in the positive side, like the goal is definitely to educate, stakeholders to raise awareness on potential AI ML biases as well. I remember this study from Microsoft where they run a, efficiency on therapy or a condition where models were 99% maybe accurate, or probably I'm exaggerating, like 85% accurate. But when you break down to populations and you look closely, probably the models are doing so poorly on people of color. So although the conclusion of the entire model is pretty rosy, the reality of it in subpopulations that are under represented is not good. So definitely starting with that, and I think AI has the potential to go deeper and determine the drivers of health inequities, but also we have to be cautious in developing responsible AI systems as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good point. And it sounds like we need to be in the community and we need to be inclusive. That is pretty much like, how can we run models, right, if we don't have those two things? So thank you. And that's going to help us be successful commercially. I see a lot of questions coming in about the commercial realm. I'm going to totally switch gears and move on to Anurag. What areas of AI and data science are kind of at the top of your radar right now? You and I discussed previously, and maybe there are some ways that healthcare organizations and pharma can work collectively or collaboratively to really improve practice, adherence to guidelines, and perhaps patient outcomes.
Yes, Veena. I mean, it's a very interesting topic, and pharma would always like to collaborate with healthcare systems in a very compliant manner to provide the support and services at different, delivery points in making the health services better. I mean, from a DSNAI perspective, I can see anything that helps me in making the patient journey more comprehensive, or HCP preferences, or any of the care gaps that I can learn, any DSNAI technique that can leverage. I mean, it can be machine learning, it can be natural language processing, it can be imaging technologies, reading out those X-rays or CT scans to identify early, or large language modeling kind of approaches, which summarizes the complex data into a simple summary, which gives me a clear direction. I will definitely prioritize those things, because that is what the pharma companies are looking for. In addition to that, I think the main perspective that pharma company is trying to bring for healthcare, pharma companies, the general trend is they work with a lot of secondary data that is available in the market. It can be EHR, EMR, which is curated, or it can be claims data. It comes with a lot of gap, basically, right? So the way I look at it is, it has a breadth problem. None of the data is complete. Coverage is like 40%, 60%, depending on the source. It has the depth problem. If the patient is represented, is it everything captured in those data sets? Answer is again no. So you do not know what kind of product and services were given to these patients completely, right? And then the lag problem. Lag problem means, I would like to know what happened yesterday and how can I make my better services and product, better available for these patients. But the lag is sometimes 2 months, 6 months, depending on how much time it takes to put that structured and unstructured data into the right format and, make it available. So all these things, I think DSNAI brings that power to fill these gaps and make the patient journey more comprehensive, which can be used for multiple purposes. It can be used for, understanding your market competition. It can be used for your patient journey waypoints, where you think that your product and services can influence. It can be early diagnosis, or it can be, when you are ready to switch therapy, you have already failed on one mechanism of action and you are about to move. It can predict those things. And that kind of overview pharma industry sees and make those decisions. And probably it will be good to have that external view from for healthcare organizations to see, okay, I have my EHR system. It's a very complex, huge load of data. But what is the external perspective? And is it really resonating, or can I find some synergies where I can make some improvements and make my healthcare delivery better for my patients? So I think that is where I see the lot of synergy happening between pharma and healthcare.
Yeah, that transparency will be interesting. It's almost like a reconciliation. What you think has happened yesterday and what's really happening today. That's great. Yusuf, moving to the West Coast perspective. What areas of AI and data science are you most excited about for healthcare? What are you seeing, right? And you and I talked a lot about using these data efficiently, more efficiently. How can we do that?
Yeah, so there are two things. I think on the tech stack or technology side, I think Summer touched upon that a little bit. I think the areas that are so exciting, or at least trigger a lot of excitement today, from the value they can generate or the opportunity for pharma in healthcare, or across industries, to be honest, overall. Generative AI. We cannot talk about AI today without invoking generative AI. But there are other things actually that we start forgetting, like just like classic natural language processing, which can still bring a lot of value. Reinforcement learning systems, which is the way you teach your data, but also you create a mechanism of penalization and reward, and create that feedback loop where the human dimension is not being forgotten, because you might like what the machine is throwing at you, or you might actually dislike it, and if you dislike it, you as an expert, you might have your own reasons, so you can penalize the machine because the machine got it wrong, and so on and so forth. So really, that reinforcement learning is really good for most of the practitioners, and people in radiology, imaging. Computer vision definitely remains top of mind, and it got to a level where it's so accurate, especially with the notion of generation, and also mixed with some deep learning. I think that's definitely an opportunity on the tech stack. Of course, like when I talk about opportunities, we're gonna see things like enhanced efficiency, and that's more on the bottom line, because we're more productive. And that's great because we can do more in a short window of time. There is also an opportunity for these models or these technologies to help us make decisions faster, and good decisions as well. And that we see that at least here, at Genentech, when I run a use case with the team for our business partners or stakeholders internally. So we really, the last would say 6 to 9 months, we saw a shift with generative AI helping making very, very fast decisions. And also we tend to forget the patients in the equation, but this is good for patients too, because accelerating submissions to FDA, or just like writing clinical reports and submissions, that's might be life-saving, because if you take 6 months to do your medical writing, some patients might die actually before you get that submission and approval. Really, really great potential there. And then looking ahead, of course, I think personalized medicine, predictive analytics, it's still top mind, and it gets even more accurate, more accelerated with the amount of data we have. And the last aspect of really opportunities ahead is breaking silos, right? Because generative AI is very collaborative, and I think the fact that the technical barrier is lower, which means you don't have to be necessarily a developer to take advantage of it. With plain English, we can achieve a lot. I think definitely an opportunity of collaboration and break in silos. So I think that's where I see things going. So we say, someone said,
Awesome.
like, productivity is wealth, and you can interpret that as much as you want. I was joking yesterday with my boss, like, with generative AI, you can get maybe 3 USEFs in one, which is great, right? Like, can do more in 8 hours, which is true. Actually, we really gain a lot in productivity by just using those technologies. And I would add and close here, like, with those technologies, I think it might be scary in the beginning, but I think one of the friends and professors in Harvard, Karim Lakhani, who is running a design digital studio as well and has a lot of books and publications, when he was asked about generative AI, his answer was just use it. You might hate it in the beginning, you might be skeptical, but you will end up loving it because it's going to help you a lot, and you're going to also help the machine improve. So that's the long story short.
Yeah, it's a great point. I saw headlines in the news the other day, nurses, not AI. It's not an or,
Yeah.
it's an and. And we better figure that out, because there just aren't enough providers and people, right? We need more productivity, so we have more time. What will we do with it? That's the big question. But you touched on a topic that I want to jump to, and that is, and I'll start with Summer. What are the benefits of connecting all these different areas of data, from imaging, the EHR, you mentioned wearables, there are demographics, social determinants of health, right? Would we even be possible to create this 360-degree view of a patient's health, and then being able to serve that up to the care teams in a digestible way, so that we could, is this even in our realm?
I certainly hope it's in our realm, because the benefit of it would be to create an efficient and effective point of care coordination, right? And to finally have this holistic view of a patient instead of the sometimes fragmented view of a patient, to increase efficiency. So I imagine by centralizing patient data in the way you just described, care teams can collaborate more effectively. So there's enhanced care coordination. Different specialists involved in the patient's care can easily access and share information, leading to better coordination. A lot of us seek our care from physicians that are all in one hospital system. And there may be a quick scan of your past results and make sure there are no drug-to-drug interactions on what they're prescribing, but it's not necessarily this care coordination that we would love to see, right? There's also just having a comprehensive patient profile. So integrating data from various sources provides a bigger and more holistic view of the overall picture of health for that patient. It allows the healthcare providers to understand the patient's medical history, current conditions, and lifestyle factors in more of a context. And then, our North Star would be early detection and prevention, right? So continuous monitoring of a patient's data from wearables, which we discussed earlier, and other sources can really facilitate early detection of any health issues or potential complications. This proactive approach can allow for more timely interventions, we hope, right? Improved clinical decision-making, I see as a way. Efficiency and cost savings, streamlining data access and analysis can improve operational efficiency within healthcare organizations. It hopefully reduces redundancies, eliminating manual processes, minimizing errors, and leaves healthcare providers with more brain space to provide excellent patient care. It does not replace them. And then always moving forward, looking future forward, research and population health management. So aggregating large data sets from diverse sources can enable researchers to conduct more comprehensive studies, gain better insights into population health trends, and this information can inform public health initiatives, disease prevention strategies, and then hopefully healthcare policy decisions.
Awesome. Anurag, anything to add here? Are you seeing any of this? Are we working towards this?
I mean, this is I mean, again, I will say the same thing. The thoughts resonate very well, the ways someone put, but additionally, from DSNAI perspective, I think I would say we are not just making all those things better, like care coordination, preventing it, but we are generating a data which can predict also and identify some of the hot spots of something emerging, which can be a concerning trend, right? So you can do it more at like healthcare level, you can do it more at geographical level. So influencing the overall population health, that's one. And second is more about determining the features behind. So if I build a machine learning model on all this aggregated data and I tie it to an outcome, I can see what are the features which are determining and which one I can influence as an healthcare organization versus which one I can influence as a, say, pharma company or a patient advocacy group or maybe public health group. So, I mean, those kind of things, insights can be derived and we can divide and conquer in addition to making it more efficient, preventing the cost burden and efficacy.
So, Nina, I mean, how does Viz.ai pull together point of care data for its algorithms with pharma? Can you give us an example?
I will give the example in an underdiagnosed or considered rare disease, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, for example. And I'm sure many of the participants on the webinar work in the area of rare diseases or cardiology. So in the problem here is that even patients who are under care already in the healthcare systems or even in cardiology are missed, right? They have to get diagnosed and then they have to get to the right specialist before a serious event or even, unfortunately, death. So what Viz is doing is ingesting the data, as I mentioned from the beginning, from over 1,600 hospitals, the majority of the top IDNs. We take that up to the cloud, and Viz HCM automatically reviews routine ECGs. In this case, the algorithm was built on a simple, efficient test, an ECG. Now, obviously, to diagnose HCM, you need more than that. But at least what this did is it identified these suspected cases and got them to the right cardiology care team. And this algorithm was sponsored by a large pharmaceutical company, in the cardiology space. And working together and working obviously with cardiologists, developed the algorithm, filed, got a de novo approval with the FDA last year in August. And what we're finding, how it's really transforming care, which is the most important thing, right, is we have patients where their time to diagnosis went from years down to months. And anybody who has worked in rare diseases or in rare cardiac myopathies knows the patient journey, right? We've studied it. We've put our heads to it. And some of these cases can take years to get a proper diagnosis. And then if luck and the stars align, you get on the right care plan. And so what we're seeing now is this is happening faster and faster, right? We're able to detect, and there is an etiology or part of this disease that's genetic. So then you can obviously alert families and potentially prevent, the next generation from suffering from an unknown cause. At ACC earlier this month, we had Dr. Lampert from Mount Sinai present relevant score sorting. And basically, he's saying that just using ECG in this algorithm was an effective and pragmatic method to triage patients for clinical review. And these were the ones that were deemed to be at high risk. So it's just a detection to say, hey, high risk over here, pay attention and do something. And then at the Gagnon Cardiovascular Center in New Jersey, they outlined high diagnostic power of the algorithm, not only for certain phenotypes of the disease, but also across races. And we know that hypertrophic cardiomyopathy has prevalence in particular races. So that's very, very important, right? That we're actually getting that data and being able to be useful and helpful to detect and triage to the right place. And then, of course, because the algorithm and the software is in the palm of their hand, they can decide, do I want to do the next test? You know, do I need an echocardiogram or whatever is the next care? And that's really an example, I would say a practical example of how we're affecting patient outcomes and working with pharma in order to do so. I am going to switch gears a bit and go to ask Anurag this question. So we know that when we're launching drugs, whether you're in medical or commercial, it takes a little bit of time, right, to get the word out and to get this idea of usage and comfort. So we talked a little bit about an awareness to usage experience journey of physicians, particularly with new drugs and launches. What do you think how can AI help with this? Can it help medical affairs team, commercial teams?
Absolutely, Nina. I think it's a very interesting topic. And the way I look at it is when pharma company tries to build their engagement strategy with HCP, doesn't matter whether it's commercial or medical, think it as a HCP journey with that pharma. It's like a friendship, right? And you are going to get along long way, but you have to give a good experience. We work with a lot of, data about, say, HCP prescribing behavior or patient pools, adoption, say, learning about the adoption to newer mechanism of actions. What are the channels that can influence? So it all's part of, personal and non-personal promotion strategy that pharma company uses along for commercial and medical compliantly. Definitely, the remit of the two functions is very different. So thinking from that, I think AI and data science can help by building the lot of algorithms at the back end, which gives the right what is the next message you should take to the physician, depending on your previous touch points. What are the new areas physician might be wondering about, depending upon what they have explored on certain websites about the products or indications, or what kind of prescribing information, or did they reach out to any of the, say, pharma reps or MSLs about an adverse event management, right? So these kind of data sets can be what info that pharma companies capture. It can go through an algorithm which can start sending out a right message with a right cadence to your field reps and your internal colleagues, where you can really optimize it. What is my next best indication I should be talking about? What is the next best, content I should send a physician through an email or, physically drop it? Or what is the next best message about a disease? Where, okay, I have spoken about A, B, C. Now it's time to move to D and E, depending on the product or disease area you are talking about. All these things can be automated through AI algorithms, and it brings a lot of data sources at the back end, but send a very specified, unique message where you can build your engagement strategy. Omnichannel, it's a buzzword. And that is what I think every pharma company is trying to do to make the HCP journey better with their own, engagement strategy.
Yeah. Yusuf, anything to add here, or anything about patient safety data or voice of customer?
Yeah, so just a comment. I love how Anurag next best indication. I love that. So we know recommender systems and engines in the retail space, entertainment. But it is good to mention that those engines are also super helpful in a setting of healthcare recommender systems as well, like HRS. And yes, +1 to everything you said, Anurag. What is the next content? What is the next best timing? And also, what is the next best patients or physician we should engage with? And we do a lot of that as well here. So Yeah, to build upon that, because again, yeah, omni-channel is how to connect the dots between the medical, digital, commercial, compliantly, but also across all the channels. And literally, we can write that algorithm graphically, and we can try to, implement it. Instead, unfortunately, still in the industry, we are working like in a sequential way. But I did see, at least like the almost 3 years I'm here in pharma, I think an evolution of the silos being broken, where what works in commercial, we can definitely roll out in medical in a compliant way. And one of the things really that are game changing, I would say, in including extra insights of how your company is perceived, or how a drug is perceived, is voice of the customer, or voice of the patient. So these are like very, very often surveys or calls you can, analyze. And large language models or Gen AI overall really accelerated how we can extract information quickly without compromising the quality, because before had less compute, and we have less, probably even before the transformers revolution, you're gonna do a query in the data with very traditional methods and do some sampling. I don't know, like taking 100 calls out of 6,000, and then just try to do that in a very traditional way. That's unfortunately subject to human interpretation, and then probably missing opportunities to see what are the sentiments you're gathering from your patients and also customers. So definitely LLMs, or large language models, allow to parse a huge amount of data to create sentiment scores, or just giving like what are the key topics top of mind, and also not missing on adverse events detection as well, which might be super devastating for patients and companies if it's not well addressed. So yeah, huge opportunity for patients, especially to make sure that drugs they're using are safe for them, and also for companies to make sure that they can address any pain points and improve their customer engagement experience.
Awesome. And this is great because it tags right into some of the questions I'm seeing. So we know that this webinar is focused on commercial and medical, but I'm starting to wonder, traditionally, right, we see this firewall between commercial and medical, and the activities are quite separate in many companies. The questions that are coming in are, how are these, do we see this as being so separated in the future? Are there things that AI will help us be more efficient at in medical that then maybe commercial can gain knowledge into or help improve? Any conversations here about kind of this convergence, if there is one, or complete firewall, and how can medical leverage AI?
So I can take a stab at that one, Nina. There's definitely some separations, right? You can imagine medical can use AI for drug discovery and development, clinical trial design and management, supply chain optimization, that clinical decision support systems that we talked about. Commercial teams can use it for market segmentation and targeting, right? Sales force optimization, the predictive analytics for prescribing behaviors, and then their CRM programs. But there can be overlap too. So real world evidence generation. So medical teams can leverage AI to analyze real world data sources from those electronic health records that we're talking about, claims databases, to generate evidence supporting the effectiveness and safety of their products in clinical practice. And certainly that commercial teams can leverage that in some markets and may even use that information to support additional claims as long as it's consistent with their original label. And then there's engagement and education. This can be done for both HCPs and patients and utilized by commercial and medical teams. So we can leverage AI to develop patient engagement tools that deliver personalized education resources and support services for patients. And we could do the same thing for physicians, right? AI-powered chatbots, mobile applications, virtual assistants can provide all of that relevant information as an engagement and educational tool that I think both the commercial teams and the medical teams can utilize.
Anyone else want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I think Summer actually covered all of it. I would just add one, overlapping area as well is what you have seen recently in one of our use cases. You know, I came from retail, so we do a lot of segmentations, and probably we're less constrained, compliantly and legally, from data privacy standpoint. So of course there is respect of customer data, but not as drastic, because we have that wall between medical commercial. And doing segmentation and targeting actually in pharma is very interesting because, like if you have for example, HCPs or practitioners on the oncology side, an oncologist is an oncologist, right? Like if you do that segmentation, it might benefit, commercial marketers like to do their campaigns and targeting, and same exact personas you find, they might be actually actioned upon on the medical side. So the only difference might be, what is that, the topping you add to your cake or birthday cake, right? Like there might be like some specific medical specific attributes that you might need to add to do what we call profiling to really describe those personas from medical perspective, as opposed to describe them from commercial perspective with commercial attributes, and so on and so forth. So really common, it's like the example we give always here is like the tree, right? Like the roots are the same, but then the tree has different branches, but it does belong to the same exact say remit, because at the end of the day, would it be medical or commercial, we're trying to give patients more options and make sure they know their options when it comes to treatment, and benefit them from that, because that's the end goal. And compliance, it's honestly for me like avoiding talking about anything promotional on the medical side, where commercial have of course the remit, or at least the permission to talk about promotional stuff. So but yeah, like technically, I mean, AI is a compact way of utilizing equations and mathematics. You might utilize the same techniques for both. Just make sure that your compliance teams are aware of what are you inputting into those equations and systems. Because the wall is very thin, and that's the only thing. But I liked how Summer you mentioned the gray zones or the gray areas, or the common ground. I think it might be beneficial for both.
Right. Here's a good question that just came in. How can we engage physicians or healthcare providers to leverage AI tools?
That's a question for Anurag.
I mean, that's fair to ask. I mean, I was wondering, is it more from a pharma perspective, or when you are sitting within a healthcare organization to use this tool? So I mean, definitely from a pharma perspective, I think I see this, that most of the pharma companies would like to partner with any of the healthcare organizations to build these kind of tools and empower them through the decision-making processes. Sitting within the organization, and maybe someone can chime in here, I think being a doctor, there are few mandates and EHR, EMR, and other stuff that you have to follow, right? Depending on what you are trying to solve, making an adoption of additional tool is always tough. Doesn't matter it's a physician, engineer, or a common person. So you have to really think about, like, what are you creating as an AI tool for doctor, and for what purpose? If it is very clear, it is supporting the doctor's decision system and helping the patient, it will be very much appreciated, because that is how you can provide the best services and cut down on the timing and, avoiding any of the adverse events which are going to happen, or make a best decision. I'm sure from a clinician perspective, I can say that will be very much appreciated. But if I am overloaded by an AI tool giving me buzz every like 2 minutes, probably not. So that is how I will be thinking from being the user of it. But pharma companies always, that's why, try to do very high level, like what is the highest unmet need and how can I enable that? That is where they try to bring the expertise or build those tools along with healthcare system to provide the best services for healthcare organizations.
Yeah, agreed. User-friendly design and integration into whatever they're currently using, clinical integration. And there has to be credible information that it's providing. Any tool that we're going to providing an HCP has to be giving them credible information that they can count on.
And I think publishing, right? So when they use that, that's one thing that it kind of got me to join Viz, was when I look at the clinical publications, it's all by the clinicians. And it's, Yusuf, back to the conversation, what are you now doing with your time? Oh, you're reducing, you're increasing the modified ranking score, or reducing fetal transfers, or whatever it is in that disease area, or finding the patient sooner before they, suffer an event. It's that publication, right? I think they are sticky. I think they do want, I've actually see clinicians and care teams embracing AI as long as it's easy to use and relevant and improves their day-to-day work, right? That's kind of
be overwhelmed enough.
Yeah, that's right. And every 2 seconds to get a buzz about something, unless it is stroke, where that really makes a huge difference. I'm not sure. Yeah, we got to figure out the right mechanisms and timing, depending on what the solution is. And I'm gonna, in essence of time, I'm just gonna have one last wrap up question, and then we can call it a wrap. But anybody want to hypothesize, how do we see AI contributing to advancement in personalized medicine, targeted therapies, or any real upcoming launches that are coming up to affect AI at point of care?
I mean, I think we talked about the vast amounts of clinical data. We talked about electronic health records, medical imaging, etc. At IPG Health, we also use our data spine and our InQ, or inclusion quotient framework, which also looks at the determinants of health. And we've modified that from the World Health Organization's lists. And these data include language, contextual implications, education literacy, physical accessibility, access to healthcare services, economic stability. Imagine a world where we ingest all the clinical data and the social determinants of health, and we could really begin to address the unique needs and preferences of the diverse patient populations we were talking about at the beginning at point of care in a way that we can't do without the other. So when I think of personalized treatment plans, I think merging those two data sets with AI can really bring enhanced personalized care at the point of care.
Nice.
I can't agree more than this. I mean, this is like absolute. I mean, we have now capability of collecting a lot of data sets, and as I was alluding to, when we work with all this, vast amount of data being collected, features which are determining the outcomes and providing the best services or outcomes for a patient group, I think that is what the power it will bring. Getting overwhelmed by data, but streamlining and bringing the right insights from that data so that it becomes actionable for healthcare organizations, it becomes actionable for pharma companies, device companies, whatnot. I mean, you can easily tap into like how can you customize and intervene as early as possible to provide the best services.
Yusuf, any last
Yeah, I would say,
comments?
yeah, my peers mentioned everything. I would just say sky is not the limit. I think we shouldn't be afraid of expanding our horizon, testing and experimenting, and we should always keep one thing in our mind while we are doing that, is really patient outcomes. Especially in the United States, it's really, really tough, compared to European countries, for example. I think we still see a lot of disparities. And if AI can help us solve some of the problems, exactly how Sommer very elegantly explained it, that would be really, really a great achievement, at least for me as an AI practitioner.
Awesome. And I want to thank everyone for participating and give great thanks to our panelists and to Reuters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks all.